Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the 616. It is special because, one, I'm the only one here. Two, not really talking too much about stuff that's been released weekly, like full-on stories, because this is all about DC's little sneak peeks that they've been putting in for their Convergence book, starting with last week's, or actually no, 2 weeks ago's books, and then last week's, and they're going to do it for the next 2 weeks. Trying to get you hyped if you're reading Convergence about their post-Convergence lineup. So I'm going to kick things off with the first week, which you had Detective Comics, Doomed, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Midnighter, Prez, Red Hood and Arsenal, Section 8, Starfire, and the Omega Men. And this one is the one group so far that I enjoyed every book in there to some degree, and I'll talk about that in a second here with the week 2. But let's start with Detective Comics, and now each of these are 8-page issues, and they came in the back of the Convergence titles, respectively. Like I think Doomed was in Superman. I don't remember which ones they all came from right away. But it's just an interesting thing to see how this is all working out and stuff like that. But Detective Comics, this is the first issue since Free Comic Book Day, or sneak peek I should say, that we get of the new Batman. Now, if you do not know who the new Batman is, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Free Comic Book Day, they talked about, or they showed that Jim Gordon is the new Batman, and Scott Snyder's even said that we will see Bruce Wayne come back around issue 50. I will save my thoughts on that for another episode of the 616 hopefully with Corey, where we can both talk about this. But Detective Comics, this one, it covers where the Free Comic Book Day issue, and in there it talked about basically it was almost like the origin of who this Batman is, and it's basically just the cops and someone, how Batman is an idea, sharing that from the Christopher Nolan movies, that Batman is an idea. It's not a person. It's not Dick Grayson. It's not Bruce Wayne. It's not any of these people who have for any amount of time held the name of Batman. It's the idea as a whole. But with this second issue with this one for Detective Comics, you see a different turn for some of the people in here, mainly for Harvey Bullock. We get this chase sequence going in, and then where it's like you're following this, like, okay, it's a typical, it's almost set up a little bit like an action shot for a TV show, like, oh, hey, here's action, and then boom, we are in, roll title sort of deal. But that boom we're in is Harvey Bullock's going to the new Batman saying, I want you to help me kill my partner. Now, for those of you guys going, who wants him to commit suicide, essentially? It's not Bullock. It's not Jim Gordon. It's not his partner. It's Montoya, Detective Montoya. And that's where I'm going, okay, let's see how this plays out. The writers on here, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a good story. You have me hooked. And Detective Comics is one of them books that I sort of fell out with a little bit, and then got back into with the Anarchy volume, or the storyline there with Anarchy, because that was an intriguing story to me. The next one is Doomed. Now, Doomed is about a kid who breathes in, like I say kid, he's like maybe like senior in high school, if not in college age, who drinks or inhales the the Doomsday virus, similar to Superman Doomed that we saw last year, where it was Superman doing the same thing and trying to maintain and keep his still be Superman. But this one, it's really interesting because when he is Doomsday in a way, I don't know what to call him exactly because he's not Doomsday because he's still in control, but he, like, when he's this way, he can't talk. So it's all thought bubble. Well, not thought bubbles. It's all the thought panels. And you go and you're looking, you're like, okay, yeah, this is interesting. It's very Dr. Frankenstein's monster in that way, where it's very, like, you see the fear in the people, in the everyday people, especially when he does something good, because again, he doesn't quite know his body, understand his powers, and so he sits there and throws like a car, or is like wanting to just like get back, and ends up like whew, they go through a wall sort of deal. They're seeing him as a monster when really he's not, sort of deal. This one really caught my eye. I'm like, ooh, yes, I'm this. Check it off as I must read this book. Detective Comics, it's got me interested back into it. The third book, Green Arrow, seemed very much like the TV show, which is good and bad at the same time, because it's good for the people who came in and like, oh, I'll read the comic books eventually. This seems like a great jumping on point for them to read the comics, sort of deal. But bad at the time for the people who read the comics and watched the TV show, and you're like, and don't really like the TV show, especially this last season. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't know too much. But Green Arrow, this story, he's in Alaska on a motorcycle, or there's no snowmobile or a motorcycle, one of the two. Anyways, a vehicle, a non-roofed vehicle, which I'm sitting there going, okay, it must be summertime in there because you'd be freezing, you'd be in a popsicle by the time you get into the bar. And it's sort of unlocking, like, you're following Oliver as he's trying to find himself a little bit, and then we figure out where it's going to pick up right in the next issue. That's what's great about all these previews, is they have been, we're going to cover something basically as a jumping on point for you to then the next issue is going to be boom. You don't have to have read the sneak peeks, but it fills in a little bit more. Green Lantern, this is the start of the Renegade story. I almost want to say saga, but it's the Renegade story, where Hal Jordan is not a member of the Green Lantern Corps anymore, or is not the lead of the Green Lantern. But I almost want to say he's going to be an undercover person, sort of deal. Like, he's playing the bad guy to really get the greater evil, sort of deal. Like, I think it's a lot of like restoring his name, or while his name is tarnished from the previous two stories that have been through the Green Lantern books. It's really enjoyable. I like the art. I like the look of his outfit, because it seems very, where the Green Lantern uniforms look like, okay, it's very slick, very superhero. This seems like, okay, he just got abducted by aliens. This is how he's gonna look while in space, sort of look. You know, it's very Earth clothes as opposed to the skin tight spandex lycra whatever suits that make up their outfits. Midnighter is a book that comes, if you know the history of it, Midnighter is a character who comes from the Wildstorm universe. You see him in Grayson, in the Grayson comic book, which is great in that. But this dives in deeper. It doesn't like pound in the face that, oh, he's gay, but it's like, it opens up with him waking up or standing out in his bedroom looking out the window while his boyfriend, lover, whoever he is in bed, sort of deal. And it's very cool. Corey explained this to me, and it's very much fit with the sneak peek of Midnighter is Batman, with the exception of he will kill. He prefers to kill in a lot of ways. And that comes across here like it's Midnighter. He's out there fighting crime, and he's like, all right, you're a bad guy, now you die, sort of thing. Next one, Prez. This one I knew nothing about. I didn't know if this is series before that they're rebooting, but basically it's kid president. It's a teenage president, and we're seeing how it's almost, to me, seems like it could be we're looking into the future when my generation, when the millennials are old enough to be running for president, sort of deal, and it's a little bit of a scary thought. Red Hood and Arsenal is the next book, and this one, buddy adventure type book is what it seemed like. You have Red Hood as the leader, Arsenal as the slacker genius in a way, and watching them getting into and out of shenanigans, which I enjoyed. Section 8, I wish I had wrote down who wrote what book and will be writing, but it's the artists, it's the writers and the artists who will be doing these series, at least for the next volume. But Section 8 is really interesting. It's like the weird, superpowered people trying to group together, if I remember correctly. I'm intrigued by this one. I will check it out. It's not necessarily a must-buy right now, but I'll check it out, sort of deal. The next one, which I will be checking out because I'm like, oh, I enjoy the writers that are working on this, is Starfire. It's written by the same writers who do, it's Jimmy Connor and Amanda Palmiotti, who do Harley Quinn, and will be doing the Harley Quinn and Power Girl miniseries as well. And this one is really cool. I love Starfire's costume because I could see them when Starfire is introduced in Titans on TNT, them bringing in this book or this look for her, because it's not the George Perez like really, really skimpy costume, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If you like that style, great. But what I'm saying is this looks more cosplayer friendly. I'll put it to you that way. There's not going to be any, you're not sitting there expecting, oops, wardrobe malfunctions on here. And yeah, it's a great story where you see Starfire trying to figure out what's next for her, what's her next step, and turning to Superman because he's in a very similar situation as her, as basically alien living on Earth. How do you do? And it's a little bit different with him because he looks human, where she's looks human, but like in the Star Trek way, because orange skin. So yeah. And the next book was Omega Men. Same thing with Section 8. It's very intriguing to me. I will check out the first few issues, and if I like it, I will continue reading it. If not, I will quit. But yeah, that is week 1. Week 2, you had books from for Action Comics: Aquaman, Batmite, Bizarro, Deathstroke, Dr. Fate, Gotham by Midnight, Justice League 3001, Lobo, and Green Lantern: Lost Army. And I'm going to say this right now, this one, it had more this week, or this preview, like sneak peek 2, had more, it intrigued me more than the first week. I'll phrase it that way. Starting with Action Comics, where I actually wrote about this on the Splash Page blog for Monday, the 18th, of how this preview shows us how we get Superman without his costume, like how Superman lost his costume, and it's a really interesting way. And I want to say they did something similar to this in Thor, in the movie, I think Thor or Thor 2. But it's really interesting to look at how the whole costume just like starts peeling off of him, and it's an interesting take because it's repurposing him in a great way. And I cannot wait to see what's happening next with him. Aquaman, this one also has a new costume. And the first, oh, sorry, one last thing about Action Comics. The art style in here was great. I loved the colors because it was a lot of black and white. Like, and you get the contrast from his thought bubbles, because this one has a lot of thought, like him thinking or him speaking, but not in the panel for Superman. But the only color that you actually ever see is his outfit, and it's interesting to see how that plays out at the end when he loses his costume. The next book is Aquaman. I love this outfit. This to me screams a mix between DC movie universe with Jason Momoa and the classic Aquaman look. He's still the blonde-haired guy and all that, but it's like the upper body with how it is. It's armor, but it looks like the Samoan tribal tattoos sort of deal. Like you see, like if you're a fan of The Rock, how you see him where he's got, you know, like down his arm and over his left pec, just all that. And then Jason Momoa within the poster of him where it shows him all tatted out like that. It looks so cool. And it's interesting to see what they're planning with this. It seems, to compare this to comics compared to Marvel, which I don't want to do because they're two separate companies, this seems very similar to what Marvel is doing with Medusa and Black Bolt. And because in both groupings here you have husband and wife fighting sort of deal, or at odds, not really, you know, not on the same page sort of thing. And that's going to be interesting for me to see. Like, I'm definitely going to be checking this out when it comes out in less than a month now, which is great, or around a month. All the stuff comes out next month or starts next month, and it's so great. Batmite. Pleasantly surprised about Batmite. Well, I shouldn't say surprised, but I enjoyed this more than I was expecting. This was a great introduction for anyone who has heard of Batmite but has never really read the books where he's been in there. It's great. It's just like a well done. All these have been well done introductions to stories, especially some where it's not a new number one, like it's like number 41, like Action Comics will be number 41 sort of deal. Like it's like, okay, here's a great jumping on point. And Batmite is one. Batmite is one. Especially if you get the comic that it was tied to, which I don't know which one it is, and I apologize. But you look and you see how this goes, and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like my type of book. Batmite was that for me, just seeing the little wisecracking imp, for lack of a better term, doing all this stuff and interacting with Batman. It was so great. It's like you see lighthearted Batmite going against dark, broody Batman. And this is where, you know, it will get a little confusing because it's Bruce Wayne Batman, not, I'm pretty sure it is. I could be remembering something else. And not Detective Gordon in the Batman mechanical costume. The next book, Bizarro. This is there's parts in here that are really funny. It's because there's this one. It comes with a warning of you have to understand how Bizarro talks. Basically, if something is good, like you say, oh, for example, this is tea. This is a cool glass. But for Bizarro, it's like, this is warm, sort of deal. Like, if it's summer, he's like, it's cold out, sort of deal. And that's something your mind has to adjust to when you're reading the book. And it's a great thing. I'm not knocking it as this, because that's just how, when they created Bizarro, that's how they created him to be. They created him to be the polar opposite of Superman, and not just in like powers and all that stuff, but in how he speaks. And this is a really great. This looks like it's gonna be a really great adventure, for at least for the first volume, with him and with Bizarro Superman Bizarro and Jimmy Olsen going to not Metropolis or not America, with it being Canada. And that's the other great part, is to help you understand. They put in pictures above it, almost like thought bubbles of a speech bubble sort of thing, explaining what he's talking about. So it's like, yeah, let's go to not Canada or not America, Canada sort of deal. And it's brilliant. I loved it. Deathstroke, this one is a bridge between two so far. And I know that's kind of just what I said before, but this Deathstroke, like, there's some wrapping up with everything before that happened beforehand, and then it going to what's going on next. And that's great. This is still a jumping on point for people, but you're not going to be like totally blind for when you see when you pick up issue 7, I want to say is what it was, and be like, wait, what? Huh? What happened here? I'm missing something here. Like, you have that preview part to look at. And a lot of these are online for free. Like, like news organizations put out sort of deal, like, as they're covering it, which is great. Excuse me. The next one, Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate, this is intriguing because I mentioned this actually on one of the Galactic Netcast podcasts, or it was mentioned in there that during Sci-Fi Geeks Club, about Dr. Fate being one of them lesser known, more obscure characters in the DC universe that we want to see in live action. And I actually like this take on it because of the fact that, well, not really take, but basically based on its powers of the helmet. Then if you wear the helmet, you then become Dr. Fate. Anyway, and that's my very loose, not really reading a lot of Dr. Fate beforehand, understanding of it. And that's sort of what this is. You're following a kid, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, there's a helmet here. Okay. Cut. Sort of deal, you know. Gotham by Midnight. I've really enjoyed this book. I believe this one's still written by Ray Fox, who's doing great books like Intersect over at Image. I believe he was working with Charles Soule or Soule, I don't know how to pronounce his name, on Wolverines, on Marvel's weekly title. And Ray Fox has done numerous books all over the place. And he's a great writer. I love his work. But and this is him with the Spectre, and it's interesting because it's the first volume of Gotham by Midnight. It seemed like it was more, and I'm blanking on the alter ego of the Spectre, but it seems like it's more Jim Corrigan. That's it. Jim Corrigan, and then when he needs to, if he really absolutely last resort needs to, we're gonna call him a Spectre, sort of deal. And it's understandable, you know, because it's like it's a supernatural book. Yes, Spectre is a supernatural hero, but that's not really where we want to focus in on. This, it seems like Spectre's a little bit more at the forefront, and I really enjoyed this book. The one book I did not quite, it's like, okay, is Justice League 3001, and that's just because I was really confused by this, because you have people who, oh, this is Batman, and this is, like, and none of them are in costume. Like, this is Batman, this is Superman, this is, you had Green Arrow pop in there, or not Green Arrow, Green Lantern pop in, Wonder Woman, and then essentially this world's, or this time's Flash. But some of the other ones were the main, like the now timeline DC characters transported into the future or something. Like, they don't die. Like, Batman was this way with Bruce Wayne. It was clearly Bruce Wayne. It seems like Superman was just like a brainwashed Superman or something, like memory wipe sort of thing. And same thing with Wonder Woman. It's just like, really? And then, like, Green Lantern is Guy Gardner, still going by his name, but now he's a girl, and it's like, you're confusing me here, DC. Like, that was the big with this one. So I'm like, I don't know if I'll check you out. sort of thing. And it is a continuation from Justice League 3000. It's basically, hey, we've lasted a whole year. Congratulations, new book. The next one is Lobo. Now this one I have enjoyed for a while. This is the new Lobo, the younger, hipper looking Lobo, which a lot of people don't like, and I understand that, because when you have the books and you look and it's very much one thing, and then you come in here and, oh hey, we got this other version that's a drastic change. You're like, they're trying to Twilight him, is what a lot of people had said. I'm cool with it, but that's just me. I like this story, done by Cullen Bunn, who's a great writer, does a lot for DC, a lot for Marvel. I think he has a couple of Image books out. But yeah, this is a book I'm really enjoying, is Lobo, and this is a great little jumping on point. And I'm interested to see, because it seems like the next issue, which I think is issue 7, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be him taking on and hunting down Sinestro, which I'm like, okay, you got interesting here. And then the final book that I will talk about is Green Lantern Lost Army. Now, this is, I think, also Cullen Bunn, if I'm not mistaken, writing this one. And you have, you have John Stewart, Kilowog, and then like a few other people who've been prominent in the Green Lantern Corps somewhere. They're not in this universe. They're just somewhere out there and lost, utterly, completely lost. And this is an intriguing title. I don't see, and I think partially DC realizes this, like, I don't think they have plans for every book that they release to be gonna run on for really, really long. Like, I see this being like a shorter lived book, because after a while it's like, yeah, you've been stuck on the island for quite a while now. You've been stuck on Gilligan's Island for quite a while here, sort of thing. And it starts, like, people start to get old of it. But yeah, that about wraps it up. I'll come back here maybe next week. I'm not 100% sure, but the next one that I will do is the look at the other parts of here, whether it's doing this week's, next Tuesday or whatever. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed. This, because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing this. I'll try to be back tomorrow for Pod Save the Queen if you watch all of our stuff. But we will definitely be back Monday for What Else Is On. And I thank you for watching. Like share the video with all your friends. You can find more of us at elsners.com. You can email us at mail@elsners.com or elsnerdshow@gmail.com. Both go to the same place. And follow us on Twitter at elsnerds, where I'm posting stuff on there daily with comic book news from the splash page that I do over at galacticnetcast.com. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.